It is officially August, and you know what that means for us DIYers. It's time to get started on our fall DIYs. I am so excited. So today I am sharing 30 fall DIYs and decor ideas so you can get a jump start on them and can then enjoy them during the season. But before we hop in, you are watching Whiskey and Whit. My name is Whitney, and if you're a whiskey craft buddy, welcome back. I am so glad you are here, and if you're new here or not already a craft buddy, no worries, just hit subscribe. So I hope you will join us. Now let's get into our fall crafts. Up first, we're going to dupe this nearly $90 faux pumpkin wreath from Pottery Barn using items from Dollar Tree. There are a ton of different options when it comes to pumpkins at Dollar Tree, whether you do this garland in the plus section, or you could grab these picks and remove them, but I decided to go with these velvet pumpkin clips because it made it so much easier to attach the pieces to the wreath form. I started by going around the outside and using the little clip to hook them on, and then I originally had 11 packs, but I ended up needing a 12th pack to get the look that I wanted. I originally was going to leave an opening to add a bow, but the bow was not bowing in the way that I wanted it to. So instead, I did a bunch around the outside, a bunch around the inside, and then I used hot glue to hook the rest of them to the center. And you could easily pop the hot glue off if you wanted to repurpose this later on. It'll take you probably about 15 minutes to get everything where you want it, and this wreath is beautiful. It pops even off of my red door, which is kind of unique. It came with the house when we bought it, but I think this looks really fun, festive, and fall. It's a great welcoming piece, whether you live in a house, an apartment, a condo, anywhere that you want to decorate with some fall colors. So as a reminder, the Pottery Barn inspiration was almost $90. I made mine for under $17, and that is an over 80% savings. I am a big advocate of making your own both fresh and faux floral arrangements because you can save so much. So I started with this box from Hobby Lobby, but you can use any vessel that you would like. And then you're going to go on the hunt either at your house or at the store for some florals. Some of my favorite places to look, especially for fall florals, are Dollar Tree, Walmart. Hobby Lobby has beautiful ones. Just make sure you're getting them on sale. And the goal here is to get ones that will go together and fit your home aesthetic. That's the key here. It doesn't have to match my colors, but you want it to be something that you like. Then whatever vessel that you have, you're going to fill it with some floral foam because that is going to help us get everything where we want it. And it's also great because this floral foam is not going to be a permanent solution. So if you want to take these items out and make a Christmas arrangement and not have to buy a whole nother container, that works too. I'm starting with these stems from Dollar Tree in the floral foam at an angle to kind of give myself a base. Then these pumpkin picks came from Hobby Lobby, and I like to usually grab things in groups of 2 or 4, even numbers, unless it's a really large showpiece, because it's really going to help balance out long arrangements like this one. I'm going back in with some more colors, and the goal here now is to use what you have to fill any open areas. So when you're looking down from the top, because this is going to go on my dining room table, I want to make sure I'm not seeing any of that floral foam. You can do that by adding more picks or fluffing as you go. Another great trick is to cut pieces off of the stem. It doesn't have to stay on the stem, and that will allow you to get more bang for your buck on one stem. This came together in probably about 15 minutes. You can kind of tweak it and mess with it as much as you want. And the great thing is this can go everywhere from a coffee table to a dining table. And it was really easy to put together. I think everything all in was about 25 bucks, and that's way cheaper than you could buy a prearranged one. And this one will match your home. I love these really thick stems, and you can get this look for less with Dollar Tree items. This fall, Dollar Tree has these long eucalyptus stems for only $1.25. So these are regular Dollar Tree, not Dollar Tree Plus. I went with the orange ones, but you could do any of the colors that they have. And you're also going to want some of these pumpkin picks. I just pulled off those green stems from the pumpkin picks and added the eucalyptus stems instead. You can literally pop them on and off. It's like an interchangeable set. I popped them into my little amber glass vase, and this gives you the really full pop of fall color that Pottery Barn one does, but literally one of those tree stems were $75. Pumpkins like these are a dime a dozen at stores. You can find them pretty much anywhere in my experience. This is what I saw recently at my Walmart. There's also some at Dollar Tree. You can also get them at Hobby Lobby. That's where I ended up getting my larger ones. The reason I did that is because these look like more realistic pumpkins, but they also are flatter, which is a lot easier to apply your vinyl. So step one is always measure. Any project, always measure, because I feel like that's what gives the most people the headaches, because you think, oh, it's about 5 inches. inches, and it's definitely not 5 inches. So let's start by creating a custom name. So you're going to start in your design software. I'm in Design Space because I have a Cricut, and you're just going to add some text. So let's say that we're making this for a gift for a friend. We're going to do the Johnson family. And I'm actually going to make this 3 different elements because if I have just the one, it makes it harder to design. So you can either do duplicate here by right-clicking, or you can go up here and duplicate. Then you're going to pick a font that you like. The one that I've been really liking lately is one that I downloaded called Sunkissed. It's a nice like hand lettered font, so we're going to go with that. Then I'm just going to play around with the size and kind of fit the around so we kind of have it stacked in. I like to take the tops and the bottoms and kind of fit them together like a puzzle piece. It just looks a little bit more intentional. Then we're going to select both of these and we're going to attach them so they cut together, and then we're going to size them to the pumpkin width that you measured. So whatever the width of your pumpkin is, for this example, let's just say we want it to be 8. So we're going to double click up here. It's going to make it 8 inches wide. Here we go. And the other thing you can do is you can also, detach and move it around. Once it's big, you might think, okay, I like this a little bit better. So we'll attach this and voila. So then all you have to do is cut this out on the vinyl that you want to apply to your pumpkin, and then I'm going to show you some tricks to get it to not bubble. Now I'm going to cut on some smart material just because I had this in my craft room and I wanted to use it up, but you could easily put it on the mat and cut that way as well. It's whatever you have on hand. Now with Cricut, you have to have the Cricut smart material. You can't just cut anything matless, so keep that in mind if you're looking at the matless cutting option. If you want to use that feature, as of today, you have to buy the Cricut vinyl in order to use that feature. So if you buy a lot of like tech wrap or HTV rent, whatever, keep that in mind if you're looking to upgrade. So once that was done, I chopped it up and I got to weeding. I like to remove the little innards before I do the outside, but it's personal preference. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Just whatever is the least stressful for you. I know some people think it is super zen. Other people hate weeding. So it's just wherever you fall. Then I am going to add my clear transfer tape from Expressions Vinyl. And then I'm going to do this fun trick to get it onto my pumpkin. I'm going to find the flattest surface that I can, which is kind of funny because it's a pumpkin and it has a lot of grooves. But I'm going to start by pressing down the and the S. Then I'm going to start creating little slits in my transfer tape to allow for some give, so that way I'm not going to have a ton of bubbling in my last name. I worked from the S all the way to the other S, and then I worked my way back. And if you have any pieces that you need to pop up again, it is pretty forgiving, this vinyl, so you're able to do this before everything sets, and it makes it look like you wrote on it with a marker. Now, I don't know about you, but my handwriting is definitely not that good, and so using the Cricut to hack that look is definitely awesome. This would make a fabulous addition to your overall fall decor. You could also put it on your porch. I would definitely seal the front with Mod Podge if you want it to be outside in the elements, but it looks so cute with this little pumpkin patch sign, and this would be an amazing hostess gift to take to any fall function. Textured pumpkins are hugely popular, but they can get expensive, so let me show you how you can take some cheap and inexpensive Quikrete from Home Depot. This is just the regular concrete mix that you can mix up with water at home in a bucket. And then we're also going to use some of these Dollar Tree little trouser socks, or you can also use pantyhose. You're going to take one of them. You want to make sure that the toes are facing down so it is closed at the bottom. Put it over a cup and fill it up with some of that concrete. You want to make sure you cover your surface because, as you can see, it's a little messy. I also had my gloves on so I didn't get concrete all under my nails and such. Then I also took some Dollar Tree rubber bands. We're going to put them around the outside, as many as you want, to create those grooves of the pumpkin. You can move it around. They are pliable until they dry, and I let them dry for a few days. I'm thinking like 3-4 days, make sure they're fully dry. Then you can take some scissors, cut off that pantyhose and those little rubber bands. It's going to pop off for you. It'll be a little dusty, so put a mask on, make sure you're being safe. But then after that, you can paint them, you can spray paint them, you can leave them as is. And then I just took this fun Dollar Tree one and a couple pumpkins I wasn't using anymore. I was going to donate anyway. I took off the stem, and then I added a mixture of super glue gel and hot glue to stick on the stems on the top. This next one is so quick, easy, and affordable. I promise you, anyone can do it. Grab some of these Dollar Tree burlap leaves. They add colors, it seems like, every year. And I just strung up with some painter's tape, a little bit of jute twine with some unfinished wood beads on there. Those are optional, but I like to use them as spacers. Then I created a pattern that I liked between the traditional burlap, red, I added in some orange and some green, and those little loops on the back you can just hang over the jute twine, and if they fall off because the glue isn't that great, you can just loop the piece right through the center, and it will do the same thing and strengthen that hook. Now, if you're trying to gauge how many supplies you will need for yours, my mantle here is 1 pack of each of the colors, so 4 packs total plus some Dollar Tree jute twine. What I like to do to add an additional element and texture to my garlands is layer them. So I'm going to layer these leaves with a Happy Fall banner, which is a free printable for you over on my blog. Now, my blog has gotten an update. If you haven't been over there, we redesigned it, and there is also a free file library up in the corner, which is so exciting. So what you're going to want to do is, if you're already on my Whiskey Craft Buddy list, you are going to look at your email that I sent out with today's video and get the password so you can go in and download all of these. If you're not already on the email list, no worries. Head down to the description. You can opt in there and I will send you the password. You can go in, browse, check all my fall, Halloween, Christmas, and more files will be added shortly because I have so many, but there is a great start over there. So check the description for more information on how to get to my free file library. Once you get that downloaded, it's as easy as printing it on either regular paper or cardstock. I prefer cardstock because it holds up a little better, and then stringing it up with some jute twine. I have both this Happy Fall as well as Spooky Season over there, so you can go grab it and get decorating. Hey Craft Buddy, I hope you are enjoying this mega fall DIY video. If you are, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and head down to the comments and leave me a fall emoji. If you don't have a fall emoji, no worries, just let me know what you're most looking forward to about fall. Now let's get into the next project. Every year I fall in love with Pottery Barn holiday pillows, and every year they break my heart with how expensive they are, so let's dupe these. I decided to make a medium size and a large size, and I started by going to Joann. I first started in their last chance clearance section because you can find some really good prints and high quality fabric that are just either out of season or they just got new ones. I was able to find this kind of Sherpa teddy bear black in the clearance. And then I did have to go into the Blizzard Fleece / Sherpa section to get the colors that I wanted. They didn't have orange, so I decided to go with like an orange fleece blanket material. So I started with the brown and I cut my 1 yard of fabric in half. So this is a ½ yard. I folded it into quarters and used that to cut a rough round shape. This does not have to be perfect. These are also not my best scissors, but once I get it cut, I'm going to use some cotton twine as well as an upholstery needle to string this thing up into more of a pumpkin shape. I'm going around the outside, leaving about a ½ inch to 3/4 of an inch, and I'm using this needle and thread to weave in and out just to do a running stitch around the outside so that I can essentially cinch it up like a drawstring bag. You want to make sure that you have some extra string on either end so that here, once you stuff it with polyfill or whatever you want to stuff it with, an old pillow, you can take those pieces, cinch it up like a drawstring bag, and then tie it. Then to get those quintessential pumpkin rolls, I'm just taking some more of that twine and wrapping it around, making sure it's tied tight and twisted every time I go from the top to the bottom, and that's going to give you the rolls. Then for the fun whimsy top, I am going to wrap it in that same cotton jute twine, but on the inside I am adding some pipe cleaners. This is going to make it so I can bend it any way I want, and then essentially the pillow is posable. I did that with the white one. I just made a smaller circular shape, and that is what dictates how big or how small your pumpkin is. You can also switch up the size with how much stuffing you put in. So my 2 pillows, if I were to buy them at Pottery Barn, it would have been $89. Mine were $22 to make, which is a 75% savings. When it comes to fall decor, you can never have too many pumpkins, so here's a way that I transformed a Dollar Tree foam pumpkin along with some sweaters from the thrift store. I cut a hole in the top, and then I like to grab sweaters when they are half off, super cheap, and use them as a fabric alternative. Scarves also work really well for this, and you can also shop your donate pile, so if you have some stuff or extra fabric, you could do that as well. I just like the sweater pumpkin look, so I'm going to trim it down until I have a piece big enough to wrap around my pumpkin, and once I wrapped it, I realized I was going to see that bright orange, so you can either buy the white ones that they sell, or give it a quick coat of chalk paint. Then once the quick coat of chalk paint was on there, it was so much easier to wrap it around and not see that fluorescent orange on the inside. After all of my corners were pushed into that center hole, I took some mulch from outside and put it into my pumpkin, and these were ready to go. On top of the texture, this is great because it is a purpley color, which a lot of places don't sell pumpkins like this, so I can put them with my orange, white, and green pumpkins I already have and add another pop of fall color. This next project is an idea for photo frames. Grab one that you like. I used 5x7, but you could do any size. You're going to pop off the back and get rid of any matting that they have. We're going to also pop out the glass, measure it, and cut out this decal. This is a free one that I'll have for you as well. I cut it to 7.5 inches wide for my 5x7 frame because there was a mat. You're just going to want to measure to make sure it's the size that you want for your frame. Then, right onto the glass, we are going to apply this fresh baked pies served daily to look kind of like a see-through glass sign. Once my letters were all applied, I popped it right back into my frame, and those little edge pieces, you're just going to make sure they're pushed down so it's going to hold it in. I also used a little bit of hot glue on each of the 4 corners to help it stay in, and voila! Now I made this to go with my wood cutout pumpkin pie, apple pie, pumpkin pie slices. I made those out of fence pickets last year, so I will link that video for you if you would like to make some little pie slices to go with your sign as well. I love this next one because these are so fun to make and they are very beginner friendly. You're either going to want to use fence pickets at a 1x4 and a 1x6 piece, or you can also use a 1x4 and 1x6 lumber. The fence pickets are just cheaper and the cedar ones will last outside for you. The first thing I'm going to do is cut 2 12-inch pieces from the 1x6 piece, and then I'm going to take the smaller 1x4 and cut another 12-inch piece. Now on those bigger pieces, we're just going to take a 45-degree miter from the corner. Now, if you don't have a miter saw like this, you could easily use a miter box or just round it with a power sander. So don't worry about these corners if you don't have a saw that adjusts. Then on that smaller 1x4 12-inch piece, I took 30-degree corners off of all 4 corners just to help me round it. But again, you can use a power sander to help you curve those edges. So here with the power sander, I'm going to get everything really sanded down on my cedar fence pickets because they're unfinished. And then what I mean by using your sander is you can rock your hand around the outside, and even if those are square points, you could easily just kind of get it down to where it's more curved without having to do the initial cut. I also cut some scrap 1x2 furring strips that I just had laying around at a 45-degree angle to look like the stem, but you could do anything from a stick from your yard to any other embellishments you already have to make the pumpkin stem. Assembly is so quick and easy. You're just going to take some wood glue and nails to hook it together, and if you don't have a nail gun, you can easily just use a hammer and nails with the wood glue and they will stay together. Now I decided to do 3 different colors. One I stained, one I painted in like a pumpkin color, and then the other one I did this beautiful green, and I really like this color. I saw my friend Jennifer at Little Bit of Calm and Crazy use it last year, and I had to go buy it because it was so pretty. So I'm going to add those stems that I stained in a dark stain to the back. You can paint those, do whatever fits your motif, and those guys are done minus some embellishments. Now on this stained one, I decided to create a faux leopard print, and let me tell you, it is so much easier than you may think. I looked at a couple videos of people painting it, and the first step is to take a lighter brown color, and you're going to make just a variety of rounded shapes, different sizes, different shapes, and you're going to do that around the whole thing. Then I'm going to take a smaller detailed brush and add some black around the different sides to really get that leopard look. It doesn't have to be perfect. I was worried I was going to botch this whole thing, if I'm being totally honest, and it turned out so cute. Continue adding the black to either one side, 2 sides, looping around. Just look at some pictures of leopard print and that helps too. And then I'm going to do the same thing once it's dry with the wood glue and the nails to hook it together. I wanted my leopard to pop out of the back, that's why I painted them separately, but you could also paint it after you hook it together. These would be so fun to let your kids decorate as well, and all I did to finish them was add a little bit of raffia, and then you can use a sealant if you want to put them outside. I cannot wait to break these out again this year. They were one of my favorite projects from last year that I made. And if you like those pumpkins and want more wood DIYs, I have this sign that I made with fence pickets and my jigsaw. So I will link that tutorial up above and down below in case you want to check that out. It is not super hard to make. It's great for practicing on your jigsaw. and I will also have more wood projects coming up later in this video. For this next one, we are going to grab a wood round or a pizza pan from Dollar Tree. And if you grabbed one of these wood round signs, we're going to fill it with some wood filler so we've got a full circle without any holes at the top. I just put it in, let it dry, and then you can sand it down because we're just going to paint over the top. Give the entire thing a really good coat of white paint, and then you can head over to my blog and grab this cut file for free, or you can print it out as a printable and then trace it onto the face. It is this man in the moon image. I ended up cutting my file to 11.5 inches wide to fit on this circle, and a piece like this I trim as I go, so then that way I don't take up any of the little pieces with my large sheet of vinyl. Once that was all removed, I took my paper transfer tape and applied the face right to my white circle to look like a moon. Now, if you don't want the moon to be white, you could also do like an off-white taupey color as well, but I liked this white look and it was really easy to apply. Then I had a leftover back to a picture frame, so I just popped the little kickstand off and glued it to a piece of popsicle stick and then glued that to the back of my sign, so then that way it would stay propped up on its own when I went to decorate. It can easily transition you from fall into Halloween and then back to fall again for November, and I just love how this turned out. It looks way more expensive than $1.25. Another quick and easy way to add vinyl to something is appetizer plates. You can get circular ones or even these square ones, and all you need to do is measure the width and then cut out an image, a saying. I love this one. I did this years ago and I still use these all the time. I did Thankful in the free font Samantha, and it was a perfect addition to our Thanksgiving tablescape. These are not food safe once you put the vinyl on there, but they are beautiful for decor. Or if you don't want to do wording, you can also do a really pretty line art pumpkin like this one. I ended up cutting it to 4 inches tall to fit on this appetizer plate. And this is another great one you can stack. These pumpkin pie slices are one of my favorite fall projects I have ever made. And they are made with these car wash sponges from the auto section. I started by cutting out some small shapes out of the sponge, just different triangles to look like pie pieces, and I also cut those pieces in half because they were just a little too thick. Then once I had the pieces the size that I wanted, I painted them with some of this orange Waverly chalk paint, and you want to really get it to soak in, and then go over the top with some antique wax. That's what gave it the nice caramelized color like a pumpkin pie fresh out of the oven. Now, I decided to use some extra burlap fabric I had on hand for the crust, and I just ended up wrapping it around and trimming it down. But you can use regular burlap, you could use brown felt. There are a ton of different options you could do based on what you have or the look you're going for. I also took some scrap of that fabric, made a little scallop detail, and glued that onto the top to look like the crust. Now, what's a pumpkin pie without some whipped cream? So we're going to mix a little bit of Dollar Tree spackling with a little bit of white paint just right in the container. And once that gets to a pretty good foamy consistency, we're going to add it to a Ziploc bag and create a faux piping bag to add your faux whipped cream. Now, this spackling is going to harden up, so it's going to look like whipped cream but not fall off. I cut a zigzag pattern in the corner of my bag, and that allowed me to pipe on my faux whipped cream. Then when those were all dry, I let them dry overnight just to make sure they really firm up. And I took a dowel needle and some just cotton twine and strung them all up. Now, I didn't plan on hanging these. I just wanted them to be together to sit on a table, but you can absolutely hang these as well if you want it to be a hanging garland. I took some scrap fabric, tied it on to give it some more of that fall look. And this is perfect all the way from the start of fall through Thanksgiving. If you've been around for a while on my channel, you've heard me talk about my support of mental health and mental health causes, especially with what I dealt with postpartum. Now, this is an idea that I plan on doing for my friends this year, and I wanted to share it as well because I think this would be great, especially this time of year when seasonal depression hits a lot of folks extra hard. Head to Dollar Tree, you can find a variety of cards. You can do seasonal, or you can even just do the blank inside, thinking of you, tons of options, and just write a fun message to your friend. Stamps are a couple cents, and you can also order them online if you can't get to the post office, but getting mail like this really helps brighten someone's day, let them know that you're thinking about them, and maybe bring some light to them in a dark part of the year. Every year, Dollar Tree has a ton of these different pumpkins, whether they be velvet or these sweater material, and I decided to make a fun, quick and easy garland. So all you have to do to get them off the clip is to twist the clip off of the back, and then you will just have a cute little pumpkin. They come 3 for $1.25. Then I took my dowel needle, which you will see me using throughout this video because it is a great way to push twine through things because it's long and sharp and it will just really help with the process. I'm going with a variety of different colors with a spacer bead, just regular wood beads that I had in between, and this added such fun color and texture to my fall setups last year. Another unique way to use those pumpkins is to grab some of these bamboo skewers from the kitchen section, twist them off again, but then you're just going to take the pointy end of your skewer and put it up through the center of the pumpkin. The inside of most of these is foam anyway, that's how you're getting the clip on and off, so I just stick it right up through that hole in the bottom and do whichever colors you want. And then to pull the look together with those picks that I made, I grabbed some Dollar Tree floral as well as this container that I got at the thrift store. I just added all of the items into the container and it created this fun take on a fall bouquet with all these little pumpkins inside. These are also really nice to add to just regular floral arrangements. You could take the pumpkins on a stick and add them to real eucalyptus, real hydrangeas, really any fall flower and make it look super fun and festive. This is my dog Sebastian, and he absolutely hates wearing anything, minus these bandanas I make out of fabric for every season. Let me show you how easy it is. You're going to start with this free template that you can find over in the free resource library over on my blog, and you're going to trim it out and then lay out your fabric. I created this template in Canva and I unrolled all of my fabric and decided to use it to cut basically a, doubled up size. Kind of like if you were back in grade school and you were cutting a heart, you want your crease to be down the center. And once we cut this, we're going to have a fun little pennant shape. Then I'm going to go through with just some heat. I'm using my mini press to get out any of the creases and then do any additional trimming that needs to be done. Now here's where the magic happens. We are going to hem both sides of these with just a little bit of heat so I kind of know where I'm going to glue. And I'm going to make this a no-sew project, but you could easily sew right where I'm putting the glue. I just don't have a sewing machine and I didn't want to do this by hand. Run a layer of hot glue across the top and fold that strap down. And then we are going to add some more hot glue and hem our edges just so they look a little bit more finished around the bottom of the triangle. Once that's all set, you are ready to go, minus any glue pops. And I'm just going to take Sebastian's collar, I'm going to slide it right through this opening, and I have a really fun and festive fall bandana for photos. If we go to any fall festivals and take him this year, he's not a huge fan of having something tied around his neck, but he's used to wearing a collar, so I clipped it on. Don't worry, he was paid for his appearance in this video in treats, and he loves it. If this was tied on, he would try to bite it off, but hooking it right on the collar made it perfect. He looks so cute. The orange is so fun on his black fur, and he's gonna be rocking this all fall. I'm usually a fan of large full wreaths, but I wanted to make a minimalist one last year, and I was inspired to do so by a pumpkin I got in a mystery box from Auntie Cuckoo. I grabbed the wreath form from Dollar Tree as well as some of their pretty eucalyptus, and I took the tags off, bent them down, and then used some jute twine to attach them to either side of the wreath. I like to use jute twine to attach any foliage when I can. Sometimes you need glue, but when I can do this, I like it because then I can take them apart, and the next year if I want to use it for something else, I can. Once that was all tied down, I went through the same process with these cute little pumpkin picks from Dollar Tree, and then I wanted to create like a little center situation for my pumpkin to sit. I popped off these little acorns from another pick that I had to use from Val, and it really added some nice texture. I don't have a lot of acorns in my fall stuff, so I like that as a touch. So don't forget, you can pop off ends of any type of pick, whether it be floral or more decorative like these, and switch them out with something else to give you a different look. I covered the center with a little bit of hot glue and ribbon, and then I glued my pumpkin right to it. And I also filled it out with some more little pumpkins around it, so then that way it looked full and there weren't any open gaps. My final touch was some beautiful green ribbon to tie it to the top, and this was a perfect addition to my blanket ladder. So not all wreaths have to go on the wall or on the door. I like hanging it on my blanket ladder, so that adds some texture and foliage and color to my blanket ladder without necessarily having to have all of the seasonal blankets on hand. This next one is another Craft Buddy request, and that is for some more of these leopard seasonal prints. We're going to be making these tags, and all you need to do is take a fence picket and cut the top off 12 inches long. Seriously, that is it. Now, if you don't want to grab 2 fence pickets to make this, you could easily take a 30-degree angle off of each side of the second piece to make your own dog ear. Now here I'm taking a 1-inch paddle bit to create a hole for my tags, and thank you to the Craft Buddies that commented to tell me to put it on top of something to decrease the blowout on the back to make a better hole. It definitely helped, and I love learning from you guys as much as you love learning from me. Once I gave it a really good sand with 100 grit sandpaper, that's what I'm using on everything, I stained 2 of the tags, and then I painted one orange and painted one black. Now with the chalk paint, the vinyl's going to stick just fine, so you don't have to worry about anything after you paint. But for the tags that got stained, I like to give it a quick coat of Mod Podge. I'm going to do the entire thing. It's going to dry clear, but it's going to look more finished than just putting it where the decal would go. Then I cut out these individual SVGs. I'm going to have these over on my blog as well because I designed these. I did one with ghosts for Halloween and one with leaves for fall. You guys know I love my paper transfer tape to apply to any surface that I just painted or stained, and you can scan this little QR code to head right to Amazon to purchase the kind that I use if you're interested. I'm going to apply the fall one to the orange in the exact same way that I did the Halloween one, and you can also take some of the little pieces before it gets set and move it around if it ends up landing right on the opening that you drilled in your tag. Now because these are going to be inside, I'm not worried about sealing them because the vinyl will stick just fine. And then I did Hey Boo for the ghost one, and then I did Leaves Are Falling, Autumn Is Calling for the other one. I like the white vinyl that pops off of the stained color with a little bit of color in the back. It's as easy as that, and then to finish them off, I used a little bit of Dollar Tree nautical rope to tie them together so they will hang. Last year, I was scrolling through social media and this pumpkin popped up. Finn saw it and immediately asked if we could get one, and it was way out of my price range. So instead of saying no, because I didn't want to do that, I said, hey buddy, let's make one instead. I went to Michael's and grabbed a white and orange version of these tall pumpkins, and I grabbed 4 of these ladles from Dollar Tree. Now, if you're only making 1 pumpkin, you only need 2 ladles. I'm making 2 of these here. I'm using my tin snips to cut off the top ladle part because for the ears of this Mickey pumpkin, I didn't want to use foam or cardboard because I didn't think it would match as well. I wanted to try to get a plastic, and that worked perfect. Now I've got a free printable face for you over on my blog. You can literally print it out and not have to worry about sizing it if you're using the same size pumpkins as I am. I just traced it onto the front of my pumpkin, and I also did it on the front of my white pumpkin. Then to cut these out, I used this professional hot knife I got from Michael's. This is not necessary. It definitely made it a lot easier, but you could easily do it with a pumpkin carving kit or a serrated knife from your kitchen. This was nice though because it made clean cuts and it made the job go by a lot quicker. I just carefully waited for it to heat up, and then also again, carefully is the key word here, went through, and I had to get a little trial and error because I had never used one before, but once I did, I was able to easily cut this out. And I also think that the more simple you keep your shape, like this face was really simple, it won't cause a huge issue for you. The last step that I needed to do was add a hole in the back, just a regular shape for some lights, and then I cut 2 slits on either side of the head so I could add my little ladle pieces. That was a lot of trial and error. I just cut it so that my pieces would fit in there and then hooked them in with hot glue. For the white face, I covered the inside with black just because the white on white wasn't standing out as much as I wanted, but the white on orange worked just fine. Now I plan to add a tea light candle to the white ghost Mickey pumpkin, but this one I wanted it to glow like the inspiration, and I was like, how am I going to do this? Well, I decided to try to put in a little bit of yellow tissue paper. I added this pack of orange lights from Dollar Tree that you can just plug in, and I added a couple dabs of hot glue right on the inside of the mouth and the eyes, and I carefully hooked the tissue paper to it. I tried to use double stick tape, but that didn't work, but the glue held it in the perfect spot. And then it was time to check with Finn to see if he approved.
Emails the pumpkin.
He definitely loves this thing. It was a very straightforward, simple project, and I'm really happy with how the ladle ears turned out as well. Let me know down below, are you a Disney Halloween fan? I used to be a little bit, but now that I've got a toddler, we are full send on that one. All right, so this next one, dare I say, is also a hack as well as a high-end inspired dupe. So do you have a bunch of these candles laying around that maybe you burnt halfway last year and you're not sure what to do with them? Well, I know I did. So I decided to grab one of these vessels from Joann, and I like it because it's originally made for food. I got it for $10, so that means it is like oven safe is what it says on the bottom. And so I knew it was going to be perfect for my candles. I took a pot of water and boiled it on my stove, and I put in my half burnt or, not super cute containered candles. And then I grabbed this container from Dollar Tree as well as my one I got from Joann's and added some wicks. I got this set from Amazon for candle making, and I will link it down below. I like it because it comes with these stickers so you can put your wicks right at the bottom. They won't float away on you, but if you don't have the stickers, you could also use super glue or hot glue just to stick them on the bottom. Then I'm keeping an eye on my wax melting, and once it's fully melted, I'm going to carefully, with a hot pad, be sure you're super careful, take it out of the pan. I'm putting it on a hot pad, and then I'm just pouring this right into my little pumpkin vessel here. Now you want to make sure you hold your wicks up as this is hardening, just so then that way they aren't going to fall over on you. I poured without the little holder, and then I added it because obviously it's not going to cool in 2 seconds. I had a little bit of an oopsie here, and that's why I'm glad that I had a little towel on my counter, but I would recommend putting down either some foil or parchment paper, then that way you don't ruin the towel like I did. So Whit tip, word to the wise. I was able to combine 2 half-used candles from last year in the same scent from Walmart, which is awesome because then I'm giving this new life, and then those containers can also be rinsed out and used for something else. Something that is synonymous with fall, especially here in the States, is football kicking off. I got a request last year from some Eagles fans to create some stuff, and while I didn't have a use for Eagles things, I ended up making my own Chicago Bears stuff because that is who we root for, and I will take you through the entire process of how to get your own logo, how to turn it into an SVG for free, and then how to add this to this football one. Now, it doesn't have to be NFL. I have seen people make this for their college games. I've seen people make this to gift to coaches with your high school logo, so it will work with all of that. So I will have the video up above if you want to check that out. I also have this football SVG bundle that you can cut out. I put it on an acrylic tray from Amazon, and it just takes a couple steps to apply it, but I promise you it is not difficult. You just need to weed everything out and layer it. And you do layer it backwards, so all of the vinyl is going to be underneath your tray, so then that way when you are using it is a lot easier to clean. It is hand wash, but since the vinyl is not touching any of your food, this is great for adding like dips, or if you have like little bread pieces to go with your dip, crackers, things like that. So to go with that tray, I made some really fun etched glasses. That's another project that I will take you kind of slow-mo through the process in the original video, so I will have that all linked for you if you are a football fan and want to check it out. I'm so glad that the stores by me finally have Dollar Tree Plus because I love their oversized blanks. This chalkboard is only $5 and I made it over quickly and easily to this autumn sign. You're going to take a baby wipe and apply some antique wax just to make the outside look stained versus unfinished, and then we're going to cut the decal. So to get this file ready for the sign, it is so easy. You're going to go to upload and you're going to upload the file. Now I already made it, so it's in my system already, and you're going to add it to your canvas. Now I want to make sure that this is going to fit on my larger mat, so I'm going to do 11.5 inches for the height, and the width is going to give me about 13.8 to fit across the sign. I don't need it to cover the whole chalkboard. And then what we're going to do is hit attach down here. If you don't hit attach, what's going to happen, and your letters are going to be all jumbled everywhere. So instead, you want to make sure that you select the entire thing, click attach, And then when you go to make it, you are going to be able to keep it all intact, and it's going to fit where it needs to fit perfectly on my 12 by 24 mat. I'm popping in my white permanent vinyl, which is Oracle 651, cut it out, and then it is time to weed it. Now, all of my supplies will be linked down in the description for you, so if you see something I am using today you would like to check out, you can definitely head over and check that out. I also have a full list over on my Amazon storefront of Cricut blanks, Cricut tools, all the things that I've tried and tested and love, so you can get it for your craft room too. This is clear transfer tape, and next to the paper, this is my second most used. I like it because it is great for surfaces like this chalkboard that you don't need to be super careful with, but it's also not as sticky as Cricut transfer tape, which usually is the bane of my existence. It's just too sticky, and it just causes a lot of issues for me, so instead I use the paper and this most often. I applied it to the bottom of the chalkboard, and you'll see why in a minute because I'm going to add some embellishments up on the top. Now be careful, just because this isn't a seasoned chalkboard, it took me a little bit of extra oomph to get it to stick, but once I did, it stuck so perfect, and I love the sentiment. Now, I would have bet you $1.5 million that I had a pack of Dollar Tree Create Your Own ornaments of leaves, the wood pieces, so I could use them for this sign. I buy so many things and I get home and realize I already had it. Well, this time I actually didn't have them. So I had to pivot, and I used my X-Tool laser. This is the first time I've done something like this, and it worked out really well. But you could easily just use the Dollar Tree leaves. You don't have to have a laser to do this. This was just me getting creative because I actually didn't have what I thought I had, which I'm sure you could probably relate. Once they were dry from the baby wipe and antique wax treatment that I gave the outside of the sign just so it all matched, I added them to the chalkboard with some hot glue. And I made sure to lay them out where I wanted them before I glued them down, because I've done that before and wanted to move them when they're already glued down. I love this sign. This looks like something you would get at Kirkland's or spend a ton of money on from Etsy. If you end up getting the leaves from Dollar Tree, it's literally $7 worth of supplies, $5 and then $1.25 plus tax, give or take. But this looks so good in my dining room, and I love this so, so much. And if you want to make a large sign with Dollar Tree supplies but can't find that chalkboard, here's another option with Dollar Tree foam board and some cheap 1x2 lumber. Grab yourself some poster board. I grabbed both white and black. You just need one sheet per sign, and I'm going to use the entire sheet, but you could also cut it down. Now you could grab the wood for the frame from Dollar Tree, but you're going to save a lot more by going to a place like Home Depot, because you can get a 1x2x8 for under $3. So much cheaper, so much more wood. You're going to start by taking a piece of wood on your long side and measuring it so that you can cut it down. Now you can use a table saw, or you can use a miter box like this. If you're wanting to cut borders for signs, this is a great item to grab on Amazon. Once I have a piece for the two long sides, then I'm going to measure the in-between so that I can cut two pieces to fit inside of there. Once those are all cut, I'm giving them a really good sand and then also a stain with some Minwax Early American Stain. Then I cut out a really large decal on my Cricut. I ended up segmenting it down so I could cut it on a 12x24 mat. I've got these beautiful leaves at the top and then a saying for the bottom. And here is the kicker here. You want to make sure you're using a very low tack transfer tape to put things on this poster board, because if you're using a regular super sticky one, especially like a clear Cricut one, it's going to rip it. So make sure you're using a lightweight paper transfer tape. This one's from Amazon. I will link it for you in case you don't have an option like this in your craft space. Once I had my leaves on there, I added the top, and you can see that it's not directly flush. I ended up adjusting so that I could get the frame directly on the top of those line of leaves, and then I attached everything around the outside. Then my separate piece and all at once, summer collapsed into fall, I did in two separate sections just so I could make sure that it was centered where I wanted it. Now you could easily invert this and do a black poster board with white lettering on top. I just wanted to keep it light and bright. And if you end up adjusting like I did, just take a little, box cutter, straight edge X-Acto knife, and you can trim it down. There's no way that you would think that this is Dollar Tree poster board when you look at it. You can make this for under $5, especially if you have the vinyl at home, maybe a little bit more if you've got to buy the vinyl. Another option is to do a Halloween take. So this is another free cut file for the 20x30. Same process, and it turned out super great. I ended up styling my sign with these Amazon flameless candles. They are one of my favorite fall finds because they add such a fun, cozy vibe without an open flame and without worried about safety. One of my favorite things for fall into Christmas is to create large porch signs. These pumpkins are actually inspired by my snowman Christmas fence picket thing that I made for my porch, and a lot of you guys said flip it over, it would be great with pumpkins on the back. Well, I already finished that one, so I decided to make an additional one, but if you want to check out that Christmas in July, you could make one side pumpkin, one side snowman. I laid 3 pieces out that were 48 inches long, and I roughed out what it would look like for 3 pumpkins approximately to sit on top of each other. Now, I am not super Picasso when it comes to my jigsaw, so I am going for rough shapes here. Once your first side is how you want it, then you're going to mirror it over to another piece, trace it, and cut that one out as well. Then I needed to create kind of a lip at the bottom as well as a curve at the top, so they had the top and bottom pumpkin curves. So I marked those and cut them out. And here is what we're working with. Not perfect, but you could definitely work your magic when you are using the orbital sander. Working with the jigsaw, I would highly recommend not sanding by hand because this really helps clean up any imperfections or issues that you have when you're cutting with that jigsaw. I'm rocking my hand around the edges, making sure everything is sanded down, and I'm also taking off any sharp edges just because I think it looks better on the sign. Then again, grabbing a bunch of scrap pieces. You don't need anything else. Just use scrap from other projects to, hook the back, or see if you can grab some value wood from your hardware store. And again, wood glue and nails, just like we have the entire video. Now the fun part, time to decorate. So the top pumpkin, I'm actually going to paint a leopard print because, like I said, I love painting leopard print now. The bottom is going to be an orange chalk paint, and the middle is going to be that fun moss color. Once everything dried, I kind of went back through with the bottom of the sandstone pumpkin at the top, which is another Waverly color, and this moss one, to kind of create some little like bumps and unevenness so it would look like a real pumpkin, or I guess a whimsy pumpkin. I did the polka dots similar to my pumpkin spice cup, but I made these larger. I just mixed a little bit of orange with white, and I did 2 different sizes. Then I painted the top just like I did that other pumpkin, so those wonky looking circles, and then followed up with some black detail work. Then for my center pumpkin, I decided to do a technique I learned from Tracy at Country Charm by Tracy, who I will link down below. And she has this fun like gingham print. So you just use a fan brush, and I did a mixture of gray and black, did some vertical stripes, and then did some horizontal stripes as well. And it's a fun way to get kind of an abstract gingham print. Once I had all my designs down, I went through with some paint markers. These are my favorites from Amazon, and I added some black and white details based on a sign, again, that I found on Pinterest. That is how I am able to do this. I look at pictures and I try to replicate it as close as I can, and that allows me to create these whimsy looks without just having to pull it out of thin air, because my brain does not work like that. I can think of the project, but as far as painting, not so much. I did the same thing with a 1x2 scrap that I did with my other pumpkins, and then I had a little bit of a gap, so I decided to add a welcome sign to make my pumpkins look like they were stacked a little bit more. So I cut a piece on my miter box, and then I cut out this word on my printer. And I wanted to show you how you could transfer any of my designs here. You just print it out to the size that you need, and then you want some tracing paper, or you can color the back of the paper with a pencil. Either way. I like the tracing paper because it saves my lead, but whichever works. Then you're going to line it up where you want it with the tracing paper underneath. Go ahead and trace those letters, and then you've got a fun outline. I went through and painted it with some black and white paint, added a little bit of whimsy texture, and nailed it right on the front. I tied a little bit of raffia to the top, and I love this sign so much. And that porch sign is going to do it for this round of Fall DIYs. I hope you loved this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and head down to the description to leave me a fall emoji and let me know your favorite project. Also, while you're down there, I will link some additional Fall DIY videos for you, and the great news is we are just getting started. I cannot wait for this full season of Fall DIYs, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a thing. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!